Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new to Figured Audi, welcome. My name is Steve, and you can find me here working on my S4 and A4 doing performance projects, maintenance, DIYs, sometimes some tool reviews, and today I've got a really interesting and fun new format for something we're going to work on. But first, make sure you check me out on Instagram. I'm at Figured Audi, and you can see me there for just what I'm up to in between projects and sort of behind the scenes type of stuff. And of course, always like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Today we're going to do the first ever dealer or DIY, and that's where I'm going to compare the time, the cost, and the quality of final work, comparing between bringing your car into the dealership for a service and actually doing that service yourself. Now let me just say right off the bat that this series is not meant to badmouth dealers at all. There is tremendous value in bringing your car to a trained technician who has access to a bunch of tools, additional parts, and knowledge, because that's how you get your car fixed properly, quickly. However, the flip side of the coin is that shop rates now are $172 an hour. That's Canadian. And we know that there is a lot of price markup on parts as well. And those parts are typically pretty easy to find online from the exact original equipment manufacturers. So the question today is, can I replace my cabin air blower motor and the cabin air filter for less than quoted, for faster than quoted, and solve my issues at hand? Well, let's see what the benchmark even is from the dealer first. This quote is from earlier in the year, still in 2022 though, and I was quoted $158.18 Canadian, which includes half an hour of work to replace the filter, and $884.50, which includes 1.5 hours of labor to replace the blower motor. Not factoring in taxes or the fact that they were going to charge me $42 in shop fees, which is a lot of Scott's towels, or maybe I'm renting out the shop space for a little bit of time, I don't know. The job would have cost me $1,042.68. So personally, that feels a little steep for what I perceive that job to be, but let's look at my costs now and some of the parts that I sourced for this little competition. So of course I had to go to FCP Euro because they have the lifetime guarantee on all the products that you buy from them as long as you own the car. And if any of those products fail or just get used and end their life cycle, you can send it back and they'll send you another brand new part, same one, for free, which is amazing. So I have myself an air blower motor, brand new from the OE supplier, Mahle, and a Mann filter for the cabin filter. Now I paid $166 Canadian for the blower, $22.50 for the filter. So my all-in cost is $189 Canadian, and I've already converted it from USD to get those figures, which puts me in total at about 20% of the total cost of the dealer. Now just for fun, let's put a labor cost on my time. Let's say that I'm at least 3 times dumber and slower than the shop, 3 times less prepared, so I can only charge a prospective customer $50 an hour. And I had to buy a special toolkit for this job that I'll show you later, and all you need to know for now is it cost me $65 Canadian. Here's the official breakdown of all of these costs and time estimates. I'll be timing myself as I work though, so we'll revisit this chart as I complete the tasks. For the record, this is work that needs to be done on this car. The air, whether it's hot or cold, it just stinks so bad, especially for the first couple of seconds when I turn on the AC. So I know that filter is just gross. And the blower motor isn't blowing as hard as it used to. It still works on all the variable speeds, so kind of know it's not the resistor. And it's actually just ticking and squeaking, and it's just being so annoying. And here's proof of a clip that I shot way back in the winter in January to prove what it sounds like. This is the noise. My very last caveat before we get going here is that I've never done this job before. I don't have experience behind me, so I'm not going to go any faster because of that. All I've done is the basic reading up online, just as you would, probably like watching this video, before you start a job. And also, I am going to be timing myself, but only hands-on working time. So anytime I'm fussing around with YouTube cameras and whatever related to this video, I'm going to pause it so the final numbers that you'll see for my labor estimates are based on actual working time. I'm going to do my absolute best to record this really well for you because it's always kind of tough when you're under a dash and upside down and all that good stuff, so bear with me. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with the filter. 1, 2, 3, and go. Okay, so what's kind of cool is I noticed that Mann actually provided instructions, and it actually looks like the A4, which is amazing. I can't believe they printed this out. Basically what they say is, look under the dash. There's 2 things to turn. Yank down a thing, pull out the other thing, and then you can just take the tab, flip it to the right, yank this thing down, and the filter's out. So let's see if that's how that works. All right. Let there be light. Let there be more light. Up we go. These little screws right here. Oh, that's very tiny lefty loosey. There we go. Oh, there's a slot in them. Could have used a screwdriver. That's okay. Uno. Doso. Pulling down. Oh, there's a third one back here. Guess I should have read that pamphlet a little closer. Haha. Okay, let's see if the flick in the pull works. Oh my God, came right out. Oh my God, it's so dirty. Gross. Oh, it's so gross. Oh, oh my God. Holy. Oh. Look at that comparison. Yeah, that probably accounts for some of the smell. It was so dirty, couldn't help it. Spent some time vacuuming. No way I'm putting this back in either. I'm gonna clean it up. I'll take the time penalty. I spent too much time cleaning that little piece, but whatever, don't care. All right, I'm trying to be too nice to you guys with the angle. I gotta move you. There we go. Get that right angle. Kaboom! She's in there. Venti flappy. Back up. All right. Up and slide back to where it was. Perfect. There we go. Yeah. Okay. And stop. So that took just short of 13 minutes to do. I spent like 10 cleaning that little piece before I was like, I gotta hurry up. So I'd say it's like realistically a 5-minute job. Whatever though, I'm gonna round it up to 15 minutes just to make the math easier on the scorecard here. My 15 minutes of work is worth about $12.50 if I were to charge this out to somebody. But really, I do wonder if Audi has the ability to charge under half an hour. Is 30 minutes the smallest increment that their systems will allow them to quote these days? Because right now that looks like a gross exaggeration of time compared to my very novice efforts. And let's keep going to the blower motor. Anyone? Go! So, Mahle says, pick it up from the middle part that it spins around. Do not hold it by the plastic. Do not put it on the plastic. Okay, won't do it. First order of business is to essentially drop the lower part of the glove box, which as I understand involves a whole lot of 10mm bolts. But I also know that one is right on the side of the dash. So we gotta pop off the side part, which I will use my non-marring tools for, because you gotta be careful with your baby. There we go, open sesame. Okay, and that would be one right here. Lies, it's an 8. That probably cost me a minute. But make up all that time with better tools. Let's get to the two less noticeable ones. This one's kind of easy in the glove box, top right there. There's actually another one right behind this music adapter. But first, note, little slot here, little slot there. We wouldn't be working on the European cars without a little bit of some specialty tooling here. So what you're looking at is a kit from OTC. I got this on Amazon, links in the description of this video here. And it's basically radio keys. Inside of those little slots are a whole bunch of different shapes, and you need to pop some tabs apart so you can slide that piece out. And I have a nice little kit here that has everything you'll need for BMW and Audi and VW and a whole bunch of different things. So we're gonna grab 2 of these and I'll pop out that deck. They are labeled left and right. I'm actually not sure which way faces in and which way faces out. Oh, I don't know about that. I feel springs being moved. Just know that I'm doing gymnastics for you guys here so you can actually keep your view. Aha, look at that. Aha. Awesome. Let's take a look at what's going on under here. So, hopefully you can see that clearly, but the flat edge is on the outside, the tapered side is on the inside, and that notch is specifically to grab the edge of that spring and depress it inwards. Let's zip-zop these things right out. Numero 2. Lovely. 3 down, and now there are 2 more right in the front. They're right by the hinges, here and here. The last three are up top in the glove box, and I'm taking these out last just because I didn't want the dash to fall on my head when I was working under there previously. Tee-hee. There's two more, actually, just a touch lower down. Bombs away. I feel something caught up in the back left. It was just this. There's a little tab on side of the plastic kick panel right there. You just have to actually push it towards the front of the car for a second. One more clip in the back here. Yeah, there you go. Dash is free. There's just a little duct right here that blows air into the footwell, and I'm gonna get it out of the way. This is a T25 pinch. There we go, pop right out. There also is just a little bit of foam, it's probably sound deadening material, wrapped around the bottom and the back of our blower motor, so we'll just pop that out. Pretty sure there's no such thing as Audi official duct tape, so obviously someone has been in here before me, and I'm very curious to know what the heck they were up to. Anyways, we're gonna take off the so-called resistor. This is also called the control module for the blower because it takes a current that is constant and it variates it to give you your variable fan speed. So if your symptom is actually just that your fan can only go a few speeds or one speed, it's actually probably this part that you need to change. Anywho, you just need to unclip a couple little things on it here. There's one. It's a little bit of a uncommon size for an Audi, but there are two 5.5 millimeter bolts holding it in. After taking a quick look at this here, not exactly some good signs. There's a bit of corrosion on the edge. It actually looks like water damage. It looks like water may have gotten in through the air intake that's actually at the top of the engine bay there and has just been sitting on the metal part here because it's corroded. It is dirty, so I can clean this up a little bit, but that is a bit of concern. Nonetheless, I don't have another one of these right now, so I'll swap out the fan blower and we'll test it and hopefully it's okay. Time to take the Snuggie off of the outside of the blower motor. That's probably just for sound dampening. And what's interesting is there is no screw holding this in place, so which means I should be able to just twist this out. Yeah. I paused my work timer really quickly here because I wanted to check out the actual condition of the resistor. All I did was pop off the tabs on both sides so I could pull the top of this heat sink off. And the great news was that the corrosion and dirtiness is only on the top. All the little bits of electrical goodness that are attached to the bottom of the heat sink are in perfect condition, so he's okay. After this little competition here is complete, I am going to take apart the blower motor here, the old one, just to get an indication of what might have gone wrong, what was leading it to fail, so we can actually learn something together here, because obviously I'm just replacing parts, I'm not trying to repair the old one. But in the meantime, let's do a quick little comparison of old and new. There are very few differences, some of them I think are actually improvements, but I want to start with this little metal clip right here. I would love to know if you guys know for a fact what that is. To me, these seem like the equivalent to like a wheel weight. So there's only one on this new unit. It's very small. It's about a third of the way down. And of course, this is really dirty, so you're not gonna be able to see them all correctly. But there are three I've noticed in this one, sort of in a high, medium, and low position. It kind of looks like the manufacturer does some quality testing and spins these things around, finds a rotational imbalance, and puts these little clips on there to, you know, make these last longer. But if you guys know for a fact what those are, please do let me know. The biggest difference I've found, and actually the improvement I was talking about, is the grommet where the power comes out. I can't really clock these identically because the shape of the unit is a little different, but believe me when I say this one on the old unit is further to the left, this one's further to the right, so maybe it just helps connect it to the resistor easier. But notice how small the grommet is here, whereas on the other unit, it's huge. This thing's flapping in the wind, much larger opportunity for junk to get up in here and maybe jam up the motor. So I think that's a little bit of an improvement. Otherwise, if I flip this upside down, which I'll only do on this old unit, it's a little different on the bottom. There's sort of this little gum pad down here. I think this is another sound absorber type of add-on, but the motor is held in with these two bolts on the bottom, sucking it to the back. Whereas on this one, it's actually just clipped together and the motor must be sitting down in this unit from some other internal anchor point. I also grabbed a couple of these pictures from the bottom of both of the blower motors just to prove essentially what FCP Euro already says, which is when the OEM supplier builds these ones for aftermarket sale, it's literally the same part. They even take the Audi stamping where there would be the rings and then the part number, and they scratch it out and then blank off the parts, but it's truly the same thing. Okay, timer's going back on. I'm going to reinstall the blower, the resistor, and a couple other things just to give us the ability to test the fan, so here we go. I've learned over time the hard way that it's always a good idea to test your components if you can before you finish the installation, because of course it's not impossible that the part is defective or something else is wrong and you've misdiagnosed what the issue was to start with. So what I have here is just the fan propped up, everything is plugged in, and I'm going to start the car and just make sure that it functions and the variable speeds actually works. Let's turn her on. Ooh, there she goes. Whoa, that's a lot of juice. Turn it up a bit. Oh my God, it's a hurricane. Yeah, that's great. She works. Perfect. And across the line. So there you go, just short of an hour for that part. And keep in mind, I've never done this job before. I am still stopping to screw around with cameras and YouTube stuff once in a while, so I was slowed down, ran into that little snuggy issue you might have seen in the time warp where because of where the power lines moved to, there wasn't a slot for the snuggie to kind of go up around those wires anymore, so I had to cut one into it. But otherwise the install went pretty good. You probably also noticed that I hand thread almost every single fastener I do on any project first before I just drive it home with my speed ratchet. I really don't like just ramming bolts into threads like that because they obviously will strip out pretty easy. So I always try to locate them first by hand, and I know it takes more time, but I think in the long run it's just the better way to do work on your car. And now finally we can finish up the math. Looking at the blower motor job, my 1 hour would have netted me 50 bucks if I were to charge this out at Figured Audi Garage, but most importantly it took me 30 minutes less than what Audi expected for this job to take them. Now if we look at my actual cost, disregarding my for-fun labor, what we're looking at is once again the $1,042.68 from the dealer for this job, and my actual costs, including my special tools that I purchased, was $253.55, which means that I saved myself $789.13 Canadian. Now I don't think either of us are surprised about that result. Yes, there was considerable cost savings, but what is a little concerning to me is how those time evaluations are done. I am sure there's a system at Audi where you just plug in what type of work you want to do, and there's an automatic calculation that's been input that just says this job takes half an hour or 1 hour, whatever the case may be. But I think what we're seeing is that even for an amateur kind of finding their way through the work, it doesn't add up. Some of those time frames really don't make a lot of sense. They're far exaggerated on Audi's part. So I hope whoever's doing that evaluation is actually thinking about this fairly. Or maybe there's a factor I simply don't understand. I acknowledge that I'm not in the industry. I don't know how this stuff works, but I hope that the pricing is somewhat fair. I know Audi's got to, get a little bit of meat on the bone on these things, but it's quite expensive for the consumer. Now, this is not to disparage the option of the dealer at all, because part of these evaluations is, do you feel like you are missing the expertise of the trained tech that you could have had? Do you feel like you could have done the job as good as them? So for me personally, I don't feel like I was at short of expertise anywhere. This is very much a job that you can do yourself. However, I'm saying that as a pretty young, able-bodied guy, and I recognize that a few of you out there, money may not be a problem for you, but maybe for physical reasons, you can't work under a dash, you can't get on the seat there and be in weird positions, and maybe you simply need somebody else to do the job for you, and that's totally fair. So I would say in this particular project, if you feel like you can physically do it, absolutely roll up your sleeves and do it. You are going to be set to save a ton of money, and you're not going to be missing out any expertise that you would have needed. That is a wrap on this first episode of Dealer or DIY. Let me know if you like this format, and if you want to see any changes in the future. I definitely have a couple more of these planned, so let me know in the comments section. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And this is probably the end of the video for 99% of you, so see you later, see you on the next one. But if you want to stick around and watch me break into this old blower motor here to do a little diagnosis to see what I think might have gone wrong, stick around for some more. Well, this bonus part of the video might be pretty short, and despite what a lot of you seem to think over the years, I am not an engineer. I don't know how electronics or anything like that works, certainly not magnetic ones that make a motor spin around. So my official diagnosis is, it's old and dirty. A lot of crusty, like actual debris is falling out of here, which is never a good sign. Inside this bottom part here that just slips on with 2 bolts, it is very, very dirty. And I can't take the fan part off. It's press fit onto this floating shaft here that goes through the entire center of the motor. But it's just really, really dirty. And before I flip it over, I'll just show you, this thing doesn't freely spin at all. I should have shown you the brand new one, but like almost no rotation out of this guy right now. The bottom is really, really dirty. You can see even into the magnet contact areas that it's just like super, super dirty. I actually think there is a low level of water damage on this vehicle. It came from the east-ish coast in Canada, and the bottom of the car is super rusted out, but it kind of looks like the hood was left open for some time. And I say that because when I first cleaned out the car, and over the years I've slowly been scraping out like old gooey leaf layers, and like clearly some moisture had been in there. And if we think about the resistor that we were looking at earlier with the corrosion on the top of it, it just seems really likely that some moisture and some other junk found its way into that tray, down into the air intake for the blower motor here, and just went like straight down into the motor. I think that's what accelerated the wear of this item, and it's just as simple as that. And now we're at the end of this video. And if you're a full-time subscriber of this channel and you'll actually care about this, I'm gonna give you a reward for making it this far into a very normal video, which is I just bought another car. I bought a cool old Audi, and I've got some really big plans for it. It is actually like super, super cool. You'll see things come out maybe a month from now, but hang tight. See you later.